everyone to Caleb Watches Movies, the channel where I, Caleb, randomly select from one of the many movies that I own and I watch and review them for you, unlike days like today where I take a certain topic, a franchise, a film genre, and I rank the crap out of it. And today we are continuing the longest tradition that I've had on this channel, where at the end of every year I pick out all of the superhero films, or at least properties connected to a film franchise containing superheroes, and I rank them all against each other, and everyone totally agrees with my list, and everyone in the comments is really nice, and everything's all hunky-dory, and we go into 2026 feeling very positive about ourselves. But this is one of my favorite rankings and videos that I produce every year because this is my favorite genre. I know some film buffs out there will look at that and go, "Oh, Caleb, superhero films? How childish, how pathetic, you don't belong in the film community." I don't give a shit. I love superhero films ever since going back to when I was a kid, when we would get one like every 2 years. Now we get several every single year, and I love it. Are the films that we get every single year amazing? No. That being said, I think we ate very well. If you are a superhero fan, if you are a Marvel fan, a DC fan, just a fan of the superhero idea in general, I think we ate very well this year. Of course, when you do eat very well, that does lead to some shits that happen later on that night. But for the most part, I think we had a tremendous year of superhero properties being produced by the big studios and also some independent companies as well. So I'm really excited to get into ranking all of these. Now, please know that shows that aren't connected to a cinematic universe of some kind, I am not including in this list. I never have included those on my list. So shows like Invincible and The Boys, even though those are great shows and I absolutely love them, they're not connected to a film universe, a cinematic universe, or something that's released in theaters. So those are off the list. So hopefully I keep everyone after I say that. Plus, I also need to give a shout out to the MCU, to Marvel Studios, because for the last several years, I've had to record this ranking, edit it, get it all together, like the weekend of Christmas, because you guys release a series like every day leading up to New Year's Eve, and it pisses me off because I want that time to just relax and enjoy the holiday. Well, this year you had a series called Wonder Man that was scheduled for December. You never put a date on it, and then after New York Comic Con, you released the information that it's going to premiere in January. So thank you very much, Marvel Studios, for not having your shit together. It gives me a lot of relaxation that I can have in December now because I can get this done early. Now, enough of me talking about just life and general practices. Let's get into this. This is my ranking of all the superhero properties that were released in 2025. Starting off at number 15 is a film that definitely belongs to be at the bottom of this list. Probably even past the bottom of this list, because I don't know what the hell the reason and the purpose was behind this film coming out. This was a Netflix release called The Old Guard 2. Yes, the sequel to the ever-popular original The Old Guard, which actually I did hear good things about, so I checked out that one before I checked this one out, and, you know, I'm not getting it. It is listed as a superhero film and a superhero franchise, but really all that's super about them is that they're immortal. Like, they can't die. They can't die. Until they do, they can heal themselves from anything. But eventually, that power just runs out. So, now that I say that, I was about to say, oh, they're immortal until they're not. And that's kind of how humans are, just in general. We're immortal until we're not. But this film really served no purpose other than, hey, we're gonna set up the next one. It builds to a final battle scene between Charlize Theron and Uma Thurman where they have their swords and they're stabbing each other, and then Uma Thurman leaves because she thinks she's dead and she's not, And then literally the film ends with, let's go get him. And I hate it when a film's main purpose is just to connect the first movie to the third film that they're maybe going to make. I don't know, it's Netflix, so they're probably going to. But it's just not fun. I don't connect to the characters. There is a nice little bit in there where her partner was drowned, like, repeatedly for 500 years. Like, that's sadistic, and that's a pretty cool story-driven plot point. But other than that, we have nothing here. At number 14 is a film that is just not meant for me. It is meant for a Gen Z or a Gen Alpha. I just don't connect to this, but I respect it, and it's a superhero film, so I have to include it here. This is Henry Danger, the movie. I haven't watched any of the original properties of the television show where he was the sidekick, and now someone drew him and had a magical pen, and now he's real in the real world, and just seeing, like, these kids act like adults, this style of storytelling and this style of acting is just not for me. Seriously, in all of these shows and in this movie, we have children who are 10, 11, but they're acting like they're 25, 35, like they're running the household. Like, where are the parents? I have no fucking idea. But hey, there are these kids, but they're adults. You know, which I guess is a great mirror to society with how that's presented in this movie. It's your standard narcissistic superhero that has a sidekick who, you know, wants to be really great friends and does a lot of the things for the superhero, but the superhero doesn't see it. And then through some kind of cathartic journey, they realize, oh, my friends are great. I should give them their props. I'm sure this film has its audience. I'm just not it. At number 13 is something that I am just shocked that I'm putting it this low, but after watching all 4 of these episodes, I'm just sitting back wondering, like, what's the point of this? And this is something that I was looking forward to a lot this year, but was extremely disappointed in, and that was Marvel Zombies. I liked the episode from What If. It's one of my favorite episodes of that entire series, all 3 seasons. But how it continued here, it just felt like it was missing something, and it felt like it was watered down from a version that we were supposed to get somehow, some way. After the series was released, the director said, yeah, we had plans for this idea to actually be a movie, but because we wanted to use Spider-Man, they didn't have the rights to use the Spider-Man in the film. They could use it for TV, for Disney+, so they converted it into a 4-episode structure. And you can tell that there is just something missing here, like a pacing, a connectivity that fits more so into the film world than it does into the television world. We do have some great things. We have our first introduction of Blade in the MCU. Well, I take that back because we did get Wesley Snipes last year. There's only been one Blade. Only ever going to be one live-action Blade. And we have some great continuation with Yelena and her father. Spider-Man does show up and has a lot of cool fight scenes with all the zombie heads being pulled off. Thor has a great little arc here. But just as I've been saying over the years with this what-if scenario and this multiverse saga thing that they're doing, like, why should I care? If there are an infinite number of different versions of these people, variants of these people, well, if something happens to them here, why should I give a damn if there is 100 more sitting over there waiting to be used? To me, it's just another example of Marvel just needs to end this multiverse saga as soon as possible, which I know they're going to do, and we need to get into just one timeline, one sacred timeline, one version of these characters that we focus on, and we're all happy. The series feels like we're getting introduced to these versions of these characters and figuring out who they are and their relationships with each other, but then something happens zombie-wise, they're eaten, they're killed, and we never see them again. And it's sad because you just want it to continue, and it just doesn't. Just leaves you just bleh. At number 12 was a series that I think a lot of people did enjoy, but maybe for the wrong reasons. I don't know, the main actress for me definitely rubbed me the wrong way, and I hated her line delivery. This is a TV show from Marvel called Ironheart, the forgotten show that has been done, completed, in post-production for 2-3 years. And Marvel's like, I have no idea where we're going to release this because we're kind of changing things on the fly. We're fixing things, but we have this series shot. This was supposed to come out before Captain America Brave New World because they were going to set up the villains for that movie, and then that movie changed with their villains. So like, what are we doing with this? Obadiah Stane's kid is here. And Riri Williams, how people liked her, I couldn't get into her. Her line delivery just seemed annoyed at everything, and pregnant pauses everywhere. Not to mention that her character arc, like, where did it go? And where it went, I don't care. You're not a great person. I don't care about you. Anthony Ramos, I think, is the standout of this series, and even then, I wish we would have had more from him. At one point, we're introduced to this strange academy, or at least we had teases of it, because I know that was a series in the works. I don't know if eventually we're going to be getting it, but we have this character called Zelma, who I think was fantastic. Like, I wish the series was about her. I wish this was Strange Academy and not Ironheart, because I don't see the purpose of why we needed this Ironheart person. And of course, the best thing, and it's sad that this is the best thing because he only shows up in the end, was Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto, which had been a rumor for several years. Finally, we get payoff and confirmation, and the amount that we get of him is tremendous. And the fact that we have a character only in the last episode, only on screen for what, 15 minutes? And that being the best thing out of the entire series for me, I mean, that's not great confidence. This series probably should have been shelved and just forgotten about, but hey, here we are. At number 11 is a foreign film shot in the docu-series style where we're interviewing eyewitnesses of the accounts of this superhero gone bad. This is a film that was actually a big surprise, but it's called Warden. This person discovers that he has superpowers and presents himself to the world trying to help and save people, and then is bought out by corporations. Like, he gets sponsors, and then the sponsors start trying to manipulate, hey, shouldn't you be doing this? Shouldn't you be doing that? And then Warden kind of goes down this dark path, and all of a sudden he is a supervillain. And it's shot as if this was a National Geographic documentary, where we have these experts, news reporters, girlfriends, family members talking about the experiences that they had in his journey of going from superpower, superhero, to supervillain. And I thought it was very clever. In a world where we have so many different superhero properties, seeing something presented like this, I think it is unique. Just trying to find a different way to tell the superhero story to people. That being said, I think we had a couple of actors in here who were a little too animated in their role of news correspondent or eyewitness correspondent. There's this one guy who appears and he is definitely overacting everything. Warden was here, and then he went over there, and it was tremendous seeing. But for the most part, I actually really enjoyed and respected what this film was trying to do. At number 10 is one of those films that, the MCU had. They were watching dailies and thought, you know what we have is shit, let's try to change it, but we still want to put it out because, money and stuff. Also, it's a black superhero, and we're going to release it in February because, Black History Month, and that's the only time Marvel can release black superhero stuff. I'm getting a little political there. This is Captain America Brave New World, a movie that was just torn apart by critics, by fans. Everyone hated this thing. But when I watched it, I thought, it's not that bad. From the quality of story and the characters, I think it's better than a lot of the things the MCU has put out. I feel like if this were a film in phase 1 or maybe even phase 2 of the whole MCU, I think people would have been a little bit more forgiving. Because if we go back to those first couple of phases, there are some films in there that aren't good. They are not great. But yet, because it's like early on, people are more willing to forgive them because it leads to just the greatness that was Phase 3 and Infinity War and Endgame. Here, though, I think the film has a great suspense thriller inside of it. Is it as great as The Winter Soldier, which I know is the tone and the feel that this film really wanted to go with? Absolutely not. It is nowhere close to that film. But I really enjoy Anthony Mackie as Captain America, and I like that he got a solo outing for him filling that role in a film version. And I think Harrison Ford, it's just great seeing this man on screen and him playing Thunderbolt Ross, because we lost William Hurt a couple of years ago. It's frustrating though with this film, and any film that does this, when you know that a film stops production or in post-production realizes that things aren't working, so they go back and they reshoot, change the script, change the characters all over the place. So I know when I see certain characters in this film, I know that that's a reshoot, and I wish I didn't know that. If I would have gone into this film not knowing any of that, I probably would have enjoyed this way more. I also have a feeling that the whole Red Hulk battle at the end, that was all a post-production rewrite. I don't think we were going to get Red Hulk at all in this movie. If we were in the original version, I feel like this would have been kept a complete secret, but MCU, they wanted something to advertise this film for, so hey, we're gonna get the Red Hulk versus Captain America. We're gonna put it on all the posters. Spoiler! What Marvel does nowadays, they just spoil everything. It's annoying. At number 9 is one of my favorite film-going experiences of the year, because I was the only one in the theater, which I know is not great for box office, for the film, for the movie theater, but for me personally, as just an audience member, I absolutely fucking loved it. I saw, at number 9, The Toxic Avenger, a movie that had been completed and released at film festivals back in 2023, but no film studio for 2 years decided to pick it up because they said it was unwatchable. I don't understand, because this is a great story. We actually have great performances in here. Peter Dinklage as Melvin, as this pathetic father who's trying to be the father to the kid who's not his son. I think he's great and gives a gravitas to this entire film. Kevin Bacon does the same thing as the villain of the movie. Elijah Wood does his best Oswald Cobblepot and Gullum impersonation. Summon the nuts. And once we get the Toxic Avenger, you actually feel connected to him. Not like the original 80s version, where it's just this independent person with like a video camera just shooting their friends running around the city. No, this one has stakes. This one has heart. This one has character relationships with each other. Is there piss play? If you want to call it piss play, sure. But the piss plays a part in the story and them getting out of the situation that they're in. So the piss matters in this movie. The Toxic Avenger, I know really no one went to go see this except for like hardcore film horror fanatics. I had a great time. I thought this was a lot of fun. At number 8 is the MCU's version of the Fantastic Four: First Steps. This is a superhero group that has been treated incorrectly in their film debut history, but here I feel like there was a lot of respect, and just the Fantastic Four that we have on screen here is the Fantastic Four. This is what the Fantastic Four is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a family. Unlike the early 2000s version, where they wanted to make that a family film, this film, not a family film, but it is about a special family. Do you see the difference? I don't know if it makes sense, but it makes sense to me. And I love how this film just treats the audience with respect of not having to recap anything or make the audience feel like, oh, you have to do your homework to come into this one. No, we're just dropped into this universe, wherever they are, just living their lives, and you can tell right away what the relationships are between each other. We're introduced to Franklin Richards for the first time in the whole film atmosphere, and we actually have Galactus, not as a poop cloud, but actually as Galactus. I think this film is a lot of fun. It has a lot of heart. It has an amazing score by Michael Giacchino. The Fantastic Four theme, I can't stop listening to. I absolutely love it. And I can't wait to see this version of the Fantastic Four in more films, which we're going to be getting next year and the year after that. I'm excited. At number 7 is another Marvel property that went through the whole rewriting phase, but I think it went through that phase at the correct moment, and it went through it for the correct reasons, because the series that we got is tremendous, and it led to a season 2, and I think a season 3 that has been greenlit. This is Daredevil, Born Again, technically season 1. Vincent D'Onofrio, Charlie Cox have been resurrected from the Netflix series era of Daredevil, and now they're here officially in the MCU doing their whole Daredevil on Netflix thing, just with a little bit more budget behind it. And I love that these actors, went through halfway through shooting, and they pulled production aside and said, we need to stop, because what you're doing with our characters we don't like. It's not good. It just needs to be rewritten. So it is another case of, I know that they changed a couple of things. The original version didn't have Foggy Nelson or Karen at all. Like, they weren't going to be referencing anything from the Netflix series at all in this series. So every time I see a character from Netflix here in this show, I know that it is a rewrite. So I wish I would unknow that. But thank God they did, because those characters are integral to this version of Daredevil. And I just don't know where they were going to go with this series if they weren't including those characters with how this series ends, where it's martial law, the Kingpin is running the city, and we have Daredevil assembling, basically, the Defenders. If we weren't going to include the Defenders from Netflix, like, what were you going to do? It doesn't make sense, but thank God they did, because I really enjoyed watching this series every week, episode to episode. At number 6 is an animated feature, again from Marvel, that I didn't really have any expectations for, but from what we got, it is a tremendous piece of art. This is Eyes of Wakanda. 4 episodes, 30 minutes long, looking through different generations of the Black Panther era. And each one starts with someone getting the Black Panther powers, and then the next episode, that person is an elder, is on the council, is running the city, and then transitioning the Black Panther powers or the ideas of Black Panther to the next generation. And then the next episode does the same thing to the next episode. This animated series is tremendous. And where it all builds to, the episode called The Last Black Panther, I think is an amazing series. Like, the only thing I didn't like about this series is that it was so short. I wanted this to go on for 20 episodes, because there's a whole vast history of Wakanda and Black Panther that I just wanted to see more of. It just sucks that it was so contained down to a 4-episode structure. But again, what we get here is amazing. It is beautiful. The storytelling here is fantastic. This was the sleeper hit of the year for me. I wasn't expecting anything from this series. They barely promoted it. Originally it was supposed to come out at the end of August, and then during Comic-Con they announced, no, it's actually going to be releasing next week, because we just need to get this shit out there. Avengers Doomsday is going to reset everything. We have to get all these things that we have done just out there. Regardless of the poor marketing behind this series, also Ironheart and really everything else that Marvel did this year, I think this film is one of the best things that Marvel Studios has put out. It's awesome. Speaking of awesome, Marvel Studios put out a lot of stuff this year, and it's only going to get worse next year because they're releasing so much. But something that's not connected to the cinematic universe, but it's still part of Marvel Studios, and it's just Spider-Man done right, and with the animation style of this series, it was just a joy to watch. The representation that they had in this series was great. This is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man Season 1, because we are going to be getting Season 2 next year. It's an alternate version of Spider-Man and the Spider-Man story. I grew up where it was really Aunt May being the one that rock for Spider-Man to go back to. In the MCU, it's Tony Stark. He is that father figure that he always latches on to or goes back to. In this version, it's neither of them. It's Norman Osborn, which is such a great take on the whole Spider-Man mythos. So he still gets that billionaire sci-fi backer of his Spider-Man suits. We see a lot of Spider-Man suits that I never thought we would see on the screen, whether it's the big screen, the small screen, whatever. We see suits in here like, oh my god, I recognize that from like classic Spider-Man. We have a great introduction to the character of Tombstone that general audience out there has no idea who they are. And great introductions to villains like Scorpion. Doc Ock is in here, who looks just like he does out of the comics and of the 90s Spider-Man animated series. Hell, Daredevil shows up in here and it's frickin' cool. This was something that I was anticipating every single week because I love the character building. I love this version of Peter Parker and his relationship with Tombstone, with his best friend in high school, with his aunt, and the animation. Just like Eyes of Wakanda, it's a different animation style, but it's just it's beautiful. The art here is spectacular, and I want it to continue. I want every animation to have this animation style. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, one of my favorite things that the MCU has also put out. I mean, really, from here on out, it's interchangeable. Whatever you have in your list, you could put it at the top of your list, and I would not argue with you. This is what I meant by we ate well this year. At number 4 is a series that concluded in 2025. It did technically debut with its first episode in December of 2024, but in my opinion, you should only be reviewing and rating shows once they conclude. This here is the first entry in the DCU from James Gunn, Creature Commandos. Little side note, it pisses me off when a series like this, or any series, comes out with their first or maybe first 2 episodes, and Rotten Tomatoes gives it its Rotten Tomatoes score. And I'm like, the series hasn't concluded yet. Yeah, it started great. It could end total shit. Why are you allowing rankings on things that haven't been concluded yet? Like, you haven't seen the entire thing yet. Why would you rate it on just the first episode alone? That is sad. That is disgusting. So that's why I'm including Creature Commandos, even though it started in 2024, it ended in 2025. That's why it's on this list, and it's one of my favorite animated series of all time. Just like your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, this style of animation, where it's a little stop-motion-y, it jerks a little bit. It's a much higher, elevated version of animated features of like the grim fairy tales that I grew up watching when I was a kid. And it contains a story that doesn't pull any punches. It's not talking down to anyone. It just gets down to the nitty-gritty and R-ratedness that a superhero's life is supposed to be. There's supposed to be blood and guts and dick jokes and sex and demonic things happening in a world full of gods and monsters and demons. I have a brand new favorite character. Her name is the Bride. She is beautiful and I love where she comes from. They expand on Weasel's backstory. It's one of the best episodes of the entire series. And the tragedy that is Nina's history and where she ends up in the final episode. It's heartbreaking, but you know what? It's a slice of reality that a lot of superhero properties don't allow themselves to go down. Like, there always has to be a happy ending, or these characters have to survive because we need to promote them in the next series or in the next film. I love that James Gunn is not afraid to have these characters that we spend the entire time getting to know and growing and learning to love. He's not afraid to have them die in not the most glorious fashion in the end of a series or in the end of a movie. Dr. Faustus is amazing, and G.I. Robot, who is absolutely right, is incredible. Creature Commandos, I think, is a great little start to the DCU. I guess it's a taste tester is what he said for the DCU. But I think it's great, and I can't wait for season 2. At number 3 is one of the best things I think Marvel Studios and the MCU have put out in live-action film form in a very long time. At number 3, I have Thunderbolts The New Avengers. And how this story unfolded, like, I didn't have any expectations for this film. I have a huge crush on Florence Pugh. That was really my main thing that I was focused on going to see this film. But what we get here is such a emotional story that I don't think any other MCU property, or heck, just films in general this year, I think many of them failed to capture the vulnerability that this film has. How many superhero films or action films have we seen where it builds to one final climactic battle with a beam shooting up in the sky, or a mothership coming down to Earth and taking over the Earth and trying to control the universe? Here we have a story of this figure that's just darkness, that is just despair, that is just a gigantic shadow void. and they're taking over the city. And the only way to combat it and to beat it is to just hug the person and tell them it's okay. I'm here. You're not alone. That is quality storytelling at its finest. We could have punches and kicks and special effects and crazy stuff like that, which does look cool. I'm a sucker for that stuff too. But to have a movie that is so emotionally resonant and showing that you can solve your problems, not just with your fists, but with your heart and with your voice and with your willingness to share a moment of vulnerability with someone else. We have seen all of these characters in other properties where there is that climactic battle, and then these characters are basically forgotten in the whole MCU. These are, the Runaways. These are the Suicide Squad, if we were using DC terms. No one gives a crap about them, but yet here they are, hugging each other in the end. Characters like John Walker, who's a piece of shit, I'm actually rooting for in this film at the end. Ghost, who you never think you would see ever again, shows up, and you're loving her. This film, story-wise, is beautiful, and it is absolutely one of my favorite things that the MCU has put out. I would put it in my top 5 of superhero properties that the MCU has put out. That's how emotionally impactful this story was. I wish more people would have seen it, and I wish they would not have spoiled it opening weekend of what we were leading up to with this film. Seriously, like Sunday night, they show images of the cast like ripping off the title of the Thunderbolts on the posters, and it reveals the New Avengers. Like, well, glad I saw this before that, even though I knew it was happening. Like, it's pretty obvious. Like, come on. At number 2 was my most anticipated film of the year, just because I love this character so much, and I absolutely loved Man of Steel back in 2013. I think it's a masterpiece of a movie, but I was looking for a more present-day Superman that represents the good in people, and that is absolutely what we got here. Superman is at my number 2. I absolutely love this film. Is it perfect? No. Are there things I would have done differently to maybe get a little bit more clarity on certain things? Yeah, I think there's that in here. But from a story aspect, presenting this character of Superman, who we've seen so many times on the big screen, and we've seen so many times where he's given a message from his parents to be a good person and to lead the people and hope and shit. I feel like we finally have a representation of Superman that is not this god figure and is not this human figure. He's somewhere in between. He is just a person who just wants to do good. Not for any political reason, not because he's in a bad mood one day and a good mood the other day. He wants to do good because it's the right thing to do. And I said it in my review of Superman, it's been a rough couple of years where I feel like everyone is just hating on each other, and there is so much hate and just disgusting ugliness in the world. I wanted there to be something, and if a film was going to do it, then I wanted it to be this film, where it made me believe in goodness again and the good of people again. And I think this film absolutely did that for me. We got to go to the special Prime preview screening for it, so we got to see it early. When he delivers that monologue in the end where I get scared, I wake up every morning and
despite not knowing what to do, I put one foot in front of the other, and I try to make the best choices I can. I screw up all the time, but that is being human. And that's my greatest strength.
The vulnerability behind that, this guy, he's the most powerful person on the planet, and here he is being vulnerable to this villain, this person who hates his guts. Like, that's powerful. I grabbed my wife's hand during that. I'm like, okay, I don't know how you're feeling about the movie. There are parts of it that I'm like, but that one, I'm like, that's Superman. That's what I needed. I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about it. And then, of course, all of the stuff with Crypto. I love Crypto so much. And this version of Crypto, I know James Gunn based it on his dog, who's not the best of dogs, I guess. But this version reminds me of my childhood dog. His name was Newton. And he's just this small white puppy who wasn't the best dog either. But he was my best friend. And when I had to say goodbye to him, which I never really got a chance to say goodbye to him, seeing Crypto on screen, especially in the promo arts where they're on the moon and they're just looking at the Earth, him and Superman, it makes me think of just the heavens and me seeing my dog again, getting to sit with him and just have a great time. I love this movie. It's one of my favorites of the year, and I think it's a great first chapter for this DCU. I love David Corenswet as Superman. I think he's wonderful. That whole conversation scene that he has with Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane is one of the best scenes of the entire movie. The Justice Gang, I think, is great. Goddamn, Mr. Terrific and Green Lantern and Goose Girl. I love this, and I cannot wait for Supergirl next year, Superman Man of Tomorrow 2 years after that. I feel like the DCU is back, and people are realizing, oh hey, the characters of the DCU are pretty cool. It's not just Batman. We have other things here too. I'm excited. At number 1, I'm a little shocked that I am putting it here, at least from where my mindset was in the beginning of the year. I thought absolutely Superman would make it. But you know, after season 1 of Peacemaker, I should have known that Peacemaker season 2 was going to be my favorite superhero property of the year, because I think John Cena is tremendous. I think he is a brilliant actor, and people look at him, oh, you're the wrestler dude who, you're just a big muscly guy. This guy can act. And he is he's a tremendous person, first of all, but he is one of the few wrestlers making their way into the Hollywood scene that is able to properly present character emotions. Like, they're not just doing the action star thing. Yes, he does do some action things, but he is really focused on character and emotions and vulnerability. And that's all this series is. I think James Gunn said that this series is not even a superhero series. And it's not. This guy is just the guy in a costume for a period of time. Does he do some superhero things? Do we have some superhero people in here? Yeah, that's why it's on this list. But this is all about the catharsis of this character of Chris Smith. And if you ever doubted John Cena's acting ability, besides from him like playing the piano, watch episode 7 of this series, and at the end, where his entire team are killing the alternate version of his brother, they're all stabbing him, and he's watching that again in his life for the second time, seeing his best friend being murdered, whether it's from his hand or his friend's hand, doesn't matter. The cry, the bawling, the emoting from John Cena in that scene makes the entire series. That's why it's at the top of this list, is from that scene. John Cena is tremendous. I think Hardcourt is fantastic as well. Adebayo, John Economos, Rick Flag shows up in here. Sacha Bardot, who is like now one of my favorite Hollywood crushes now. I think she's beautiful. Tim Meadows showing up in here and introducing all of us to the very serious and very real condition of bird blindness. One of the funniest gags I've ever seen in a series is him not being able to determine what bird is compared to another bird. He sees Eagly, who's also fantastic. He's one of my favorites too. He sees Eagly and thinks, oh, it's a duck. One of my favorite things of 2025 just in general. And I know some people had some issues with the final episode of the series. Like, people said, oh, it's just one gigantic, big, long musical. And yeah, they're musical numbers, but you know what? The music, I think, is awesome. And it's used to just progress these characters into their next stage of their lives. Checkmate is now created. Chris Smith is now in Salvation, this alternate world prison that he cannot escape from, and it's going to be appearing in other series and other films, leading towards, I'm sure, a big Justice League movie, because yeah, that big bad villain that we're getting is definitely the Center from Justice League New Frontier. If any of you have never heard of it, go back and check it out. And I also called that, by the way. I mean, none of this is confirmed yet, but I am guaranteeing that Dinosaur Island and the Center are going to be the main villains of whatever big Justice League film that they're doing. I called it back in 2024 when I did a watch-along of that film, and I feel vindicated and validated in that prediction because I'm pretty sure that's where we're going. Peacemaker Season 2, you gotta check this out. It is fantastic. John Cena, again, is tremendous, and this series, don't go into it expecting a superhero blockbuster brawl. You are looking at character work. You are looking at the catharsis and the overarching character development of this character of Chris Smith, who starts out as a complete asshole, especially in season 1. And by the end of this, he's just Chris Smith. He's not Peacemaker. He is Chris Smith being himself, allowing him to be himself. And I think that's the most important storytelling thing that we could do, is make someone realize that they can be themselves and that's okay. And that is my list of all of my favorite superhero properties released in 2025. What did you think of my list? What is your ranking? All the superhero properties maybe on this list. What is your ranking of all of them? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so you'll know the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.